All right, guys, time for some brand new content. We're going to go a step further than distribution. And what we're looking at today is how to multiply two binomials or a binomial by a trinomial. In other words, instead of just taking a single term like a and multiplying it by 5x plus 3, we are going to take two binomials. So x minus 6 is being multiplied by 4x plus 3. We're not just multiplying the negative 6. We're having to multiply everything in both parentheses by everything in the other one. And that's where you have to be careful. If this was negative 6 multiplied by 4x plus 3, then all you would be doing is taking that negative 6 and multiplying it by these. If it was just x multiplied by 4x plus 3, you'd be taking the x and multiplying it by everything on the inside. But this time we have an x and we have a negative 6 that we have to worry about. So there's a couple of different methods that I'm going to show you how to do this. And really what it boils down to, all you need to remember is that everything in this parenthesis needs to be multiplied by everything in this parenthesis. It's that simple. Everything in one needs to be multiplied by everything in the other. What gets difficult is keeping track of what you have and haven't done already. So we'll show you a couple of different ways. The first way to do this is by far the most common. In fact, if you go home and ask your parents, well, I guess you're home watching this. If you go in the kitchen, ask mom or dad if they remember what FOIL means, that's one of the few things they probably remember about high school math. And the word FOIL, mathematically, it doesn't mean anything. All it's meant to do is help you remember to multiply everything. So FOIL, F stands for first. So what that means is you take the first term in each parenthesis and you multiply them together. So 3x multiplied by x is 3x squared. O stands for outside. So you take the outside and you multiply them together. So you take the 3x and the 2, the positive 2. Those are on the outside. Maybe let's coordinate these a little bit with how we labeled them. So you are going to take the 3x because it's on the outside and the plus 2 is on the outside of the problem, and you're going to multiply those together. So 3x is going to be multiplied by 2, which is 6x. Okay. Then you're going to multiply the inside numbers together. So I in FOIL stands for inside. So first outside, inside. So you're foiling the ones on the inner side of this. So which is the negative 4 and the x. You're going to multiply those together. So if I take, let's highlight these just a little bit. If I take the negative 4 and the x, that's going to be my inside. And I've got to remember to multiply those together. So negative 4 times x is negative 4x. L stands for last. First, inside, outside, last. And my last term in each parenthesis, one of them is negative 4, one of them is positive 2. So I got to remember to multiply negative 4 times a positive 2 is negative 8. So whenever you FOIL, you have two things that you're multiplying by two things. So you should end up with 4 different terms. If not, you probably forgot something. And from here, all I have to do is combine like terms together. There's no other x squareds, so this is 3x squared. There's a 6x and a negative 4x. When I add those, I get 2x's, and then I'm left with a negative 8 at the end. So 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 is going to be my final answer. Okay, so first, outside, inside, last, FOIL. Again, it's just a term to try and help you remember that you've got to multiply everything. The way I used to do it, I wasn't very good at memorizing, so I had a hard time even remembering what FOIL stood for. But I could remember that I have to take n and I have to multiply it by this term and this term. So I would draw an arrow to both of them. And then I would say n times 4n, that's 4n squared. And n times -7 is -7n. Then I would take my second term and draw arrows to both of these to remind me to multiply those ones. So -6 times 4n, that's -24n. And -6 times -7 is a +42. And again, I just look for like terms. 4n squared is all by itself. -7n and -24n, those can go together. That's -31n. And a +42 is what's left. So that would be my final answer. Okay. So again, you don't have to memorize FOIL. It might help you to remember first, outside, inside, last. If nothing else, at least remember that you got to multiply everything, even if you draw arrows to do it. So on C, let's do FOIL again. Let's take our first one. So let's take my 2p squared and multiply it by my other first term, 2p. So that's 4p cubed. Now let's take the outside. So let's take the outside one and multiply it by the other outside one. So that's 2p squared multiplied by -5. That's -10p squared. Now let's take I is inside, FOIL inside. So I'm going to take the inside two and multiply them together, the two that are on the inside. 3 times 2p is 6p. And then I'm going to do last. I'm going to take my last one, my 3, and multiply it by my -5. So 3 times -5 is -15. So 4p cubed minus 10p squared plus 6p minus 5. Now in this one, I don't have any like terms. Everything has its own. So there's nothing to combine. I just have 4p cubed minus 10p squared plus 6p minus 15. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay. So everything in one gets multiplied by everything in the other. Again, it doesn't matter how you do it. My sister had a really hard time. It drove her crazy to have lines and all this messy stuff everywhere. So she would only write one at a time. So if hers was 3x minus 4 and x plus 2, she would draw one line, 3x to x, 3x squared. Then she would draw another line, 3x to 2. That was 6x. Then she would draw another line, -4 to x would be -4x, and then -4 to 2 would be -8. Whatever you can do to remember to multiply everything in one by everything in the other. Okay. Now it is a lot to keep track of. So some people prefer using a table. So I'm going to show you this example with the table, and then we'll get up here to this bigger problem here. So the way that you use the table is you're multiplying 3x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 4. So I'm going to put up here on top, I'm going to put 3x from right here, and then a plus 1 from here. Then going down the side, I'm going to put an x and a plus 4. So I'm just rewriting what's on the inside on the outside of the table. And then I'm going to multiply everything. I'm going to take 3x and times it by x. And that's 3x squared. Then I'm going to take 3x and times it by 4. And that's 12x. Then I'm going to take 1 and multiply it by x, which is just 1x. And then I'm going to take 1 times 4, which is just 4. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I took 3x and times it by x. Then I took 3x and times it by 4. Then I took 1 times x, and then I took 1 times 4. So I'm pretty much doing the same process, but the table might help you organize that a little bit easier. Now I just have to write this out into a math problem, because right now it's just a table. The nice thing about the table is your common factors are usually at an angle from each other. So I have my 3x squared to start with. And then I have 12 x's and another, this is a positive x, so that's 13 x's. And then I have a 4 left over down here. So that would be my final answer. Okay, so a table can help you organize this big, messy diagram. It just depends on what works for you. Okay, for me, this is a lot of extra drawing that I have to do. I have to rewrite the problem, and I have to draw a box. Then I have to write the answers. Then I have to take the answers and transfer them over to a problem. So I don't like the table for me because that's just a lot of extra writing, although it does help keep track of all of the math. So you can try both ways and see which one works best for you. All right. So let's do a couple more examples with the table. I've got 3p plus 4 times 2p plus 5. So 3p and a positive 4, and then 2p and a positive 5. So 3p times 2p, that's 6p squared. 3p times 5 is 15p. 2p times 4 is 8p, and 5 times 4 is 20. So there's my like terms. They're both p's, and I just rewrite my problem. 6p squared from right here. And then 15 plus 8 more, that's 23p. And then I'm left with a positive 20 at the end. So that would be my answer. Again, it goes pretty quick. It keeps you organized. You just have to draw an extra little diagram in there. It is kind of handy when you have a problem like this one. What if it's not a binomial and a binomial? What if this one has 1, 2, 3 terms in it? FOIL doesn't work. You can't do first, outside, inside, last. It only works if it's 2 times 2. So in this case, I can do the table. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 across the top, and then x minus 3 down the side. So 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. Negative 3x times x is negative 3x squared. Positive 1 times x is just 1x. 2x squared times negative 3, that's negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times negative 3 is 9x. This can maybe help you keep track of your negatives a little bit better, as long as you remember to write them down here. 1 times negative 3 is just negative 3. And even though this is a bigger table, look at my diagonals. X squareds and x's, my common terms, still line up. So I'm going to start with 2x cubed. Then I need my x squareds. And I have negative 6 of them minus 3 more. That's negative 9x squared. Then I have 9x's plus another x. That's 10x. And then I have a negative 3 at the end. And that would be my final answer. Okay. Now you can also, see if I have one more example on here. Nope, just the stuff we're going to do in class. You can also just, if you don't like using the table, even on these bigger problems, you don't have to use the table. Is that the same problem? 2x squared, negative 3x plus 1. It is. That's okay. I can draw the lines. If it helps me remember, I can do negative 2x squared times, 2x squared times x. That's 2x cubed. And then I can do 2x squared times negative 3. That's negative 6x squared. Then I can do negative 3 times x, so negative 3x squared. Then I can do negative 3 times negative 3. That's positive 9x. Then I can do 1 times x, which is a plus x. And I can do 1 times negative 3, which is negative 3. A little bit messier, maybe a little bit harder for some of you to follow, but you don't have to draw a new picture. And the numbers are already written down. I just have to combine my like terms and then rewrite the problem. 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 10x minus 3. So either way gets you to the same place. One just might be a little bit more organized. You decide what's going to be best for you. Now, what I would like you to do is homework. Let's see, what are we on? Homework number 4C. I want you to do at home. It's going to kind of stick to these basic problems. We're not going to get anything too complicated. And then next time in class, I'll answer questions and we'll work on homework 4AB together. we'll work on that other assignment. So we'll see you in class.